Okay, this video is an open letter to philanthropists that what's really needed if there's going to be real progress in healthcare and if there's going to be the ability to figure out solutions to complex, rare problems is that there should be like a think house, an institution where they get like the smartest doctors and PhDs and let them talk to each other and work with each other and work on their own. Mostly they need to be on their own. A lot of the best discoveries, they come from just a smart person who really wants to understand something, and they sit around reading all day. That's really what it takes. Like, Watson and Crick, when they discovered the structure of DNA, they didn't do any significant research. They just looked at what was already done and figured it out, and they went to even talk with some of the researchers. Because I see that what I see happening right now is big pharma and some of these other big companies are controlling the money. And the researcher basically has to please them. Well, what these big companies want is advertising. So the researcher does fake research that advertises a product. That's the vast majority of research in medicine, nutrition, and whatnot. So what I'm saying is if somebody wants real work to be done, they have to provide funding. And it could be something like, 1-year commissions for the workers or the scientists. Somebody who's really out there cranking out good work, they're going to be able to prove it pretty easily within 6 months that they're doing something useful. Versus somebody who's BSing, it'll be obvious within 6 months or a year that they're not. Because there's a lot of smart people, like myself. We're working in traditional jobs and we're kind of bored, okay? In medicine, any IQ points above 140, there's really nothing for them to do. The idea is to stick with the standard, which is kind of boring. And the reason for that is big money is making money off the standard. A doctor basically walks into their office and cranks out billing codes all day. The more billing codes they can crank out in a certain amount of time, the more money they generate. But that gets kind of old and boring. And yes, I'm grateful that conventional medicine has set up this great assembly line system of business to run the pros through and make a lot of money off them to fleece the pros. But it would be nice if we could, use our brains to do. I do the best I can given the fact I'm working full time, but I need more time to read. And I can assure you, I don't see anybody on the internet who's really figuring out these problems. I see some very good researchers at the universities, but what I always see happen to these researchers is, let's say at Harvard, Princeton, University College Dublin and other places, they always run into a wall where if you're going to make a new discovery, you have to criticize the old way of doing things. And when they criticize the old way of doing things, there's usually big money behind that old way of doing things, and they get in trouble. And so lots of scientists and physicians, they lose their jobs if they criticize the way big money wants things done. So they're scared to ever criticize that. But then they can't make a new discovery because they can't say something that contradicts the established way. So what I'm saying is there should be somewhere where, most really smart people, they're not that money minded. They need some type of decent salary to pay their bills. I got one kid in college still, one kid in grad school. So, but we would love to have an honest place that wants to figure stuff out and discover stuff. Because I can tell you, the PhDs have stacked up all these papers and they're not smart enough. They don't have a variety of knowledge in order to put things together. But you bring the people in that have the background, the knowledge, the desire, the time, the brains, and they can figure stuff out. I've already figured out a whole bunch of stuff. The best explanation of brain degeneration, spine degeneration, the role of mitochondria in many diseases. So we just would need to have a place like that. And it would generate lots of benefit. If you got somebody sick in your family, we'd be the best people to figure it out. The best chance you have of figuring it out. One of these chronic fatigue syndromes or something. So anyways, there it is. It'd be nice if somebody did something like that.